The sun will be up soon. At least I hope it will. I have been up all night. I can't sleep. Not while he's out there. Last night started the same as most nights for me. I was up late watching TV and scrolling through Reddit horror stories. But around midnight, I received a DM. It was an invitation to a new subreddit. I figured, why not check it out? To my disappointment, there was only a single post. It read, "Don't read this." Obviously, I clicked on it. That's when my night took a wrong turn. The text read, "I'm sorry. Once you see him, it's too late." I commented, "Lame," and was about to move on. But another post popped up from the same user. It was a picture of a house with a single light on upstairs. It was dark, but I immediately recognized it as my house. I started to reply, thinking this must be a prank from a friend. But then I saw it. In the corner of the picture, there was a man standing outside my house. You just make out the silhouette of his head and shoulder. I stepped away from my computer and looked out the window. I saw him, standing in front of my house, almost completely out of the glow of the streetlights. I stood there for what seemed like a long time, but he didn't move. He just stared up at me. I went back to the keyboard and typed a reply. "Okay, you got me. Good one. Who is this?" There was a brief pause and a reply. "Do you see him?" he asked. I typed back, "Yes. Is this Jake?" The user responded, "That means I'm safe. I'm sorry. I wish you the best of luck." Before I could reply, the post was deleted. Then the account was deleted. At that point, I was really creeped out. But I decided to go outside and confront whoever it was. It was obviously someone I knew, or they wouldn't know where I lived. I reached my front door and looked outside. I couldn't see anyone. I cautiously stepped out onto my porch and looked around. I still didn't see anyone. I made my way out on the street and stood right where the man had been. I looked up to my window to get an idea of where the picture had been taken. I walked another 5 or 6 feet across the grass and found nobody. On my way back up the steps, I heard leaves rustling in the yard. I stopped and looked around. I still found nobody there. I dismissed the noise as a wind or possibly the neighbor's cat and went inside. But someone had been there and took the picture, I thought to myself. I locked the door once I was inside. As soon as I did, there was a loud knock at the door. I froze. I hadn't closed the door more than 2 seconds ago. Whoever was knocking had to have been right behind me. There was another loud knock, and I looked out the window to see the man from the picture. But he wasn't standing at the door. He was out by the street again. A knot began to form in my stomach. I opened the door, still convinced this was a prank. I tried to yell, "Who the fuck are you?" But the words seized in my throat. It came out a choked yelp instead. I stared at the man and he stared back at me. But he didn't move. He didn't say anything. He just stood there, patiently waiting. Waiting for what? I wondered to myself. My mouth ran dry with the thought. I closed the door. I double-checked the lock. For a moment I stood there, waiting for another knock, a window to break, a gunshot, something, anything from the mysterious stalker outside my house. But nothing. I reached for my phone to call 911. I knew nothing had happened yet, but I would feel better just having the police come by to scare this creep off. But my pockets were empty. I realized I left my phone on the charger. I began to head up to my room. As I turned the corner to run up the stairs, the hairs on my neck began to stand up. I felt him staring at me before I saw him. From where I was, I could see the back door was wide open. I scanned the room. In the darkness, I could just make out the figure. He was in the house, standing in the kitchen. I ran as fast as I could to my room. I listened for footsteps chasing me, but I heard nothing. But I knew that didn't mean he wasn't following me. I closed the door, and I locked it. I grabbed my phone and hid in the closet. I know I should have called 911, but somehow I knew this was the only way. If the hairs on the back of your neck are standing up right now, or if you have that feeling you're being watched, I'm sorry, but that means I'm safe. Don't look outside your window. Once you see him, it's too late. Take a deep breath. Good. If you didn't do it, I wouldn't know, as it's almost certainly daytime by the time you're reading it. And if it's not, I do not like to be rejected. You can probably feel my irritated stare right now. I've been watching you for a few months now. I've laid in the thing you sleep in, and I've even tried wearing some of your clothes. They're way too small for me. I don't know why I do this. Love compels me to make the dumbest decisions. There is something special about you. You're clever, so clever in fact, some people can't really grasp what you're after. You're also a good person. You might not think so, but we both know you could be doing a lot more harm to people right now. There's been so many times I've seen you calm yourself down instead of attacking that piece of shit. And we both know there would be nothing wrong with that. You're just so wonderful, so great, so perfect, that I want to pluck you and keep you in a vase to look at for the rest of my life. The thing that caught my attention about you at first was your neck. Your neck is just so wonderful. I'd feel bad for touching it or blemishing it in any way. Sometimes when you sleep, the urge comes over me to just touch you a little bit, just a little kiss. But I know that would devolve, and that would ruin our little relationship. You've probably felt it for some time now. A sense of dread or foreboding might have washed over you. Ignore it. See, that's just the signal your body is sending you to tell you that there'll be a large decision for you soon. This decision will change the fate of your life. It would be the difference between traveling two paths going in opposite directions. I'll tell you though, one path is much, much longer than the other. And I'll also accompany you, be next to you throughout all time, sleep in the same casket as you. It'll be a true romance. In 2 days at midnight, whether you are awake or asleep, I'll meet you. The choice will be there before you, and you have to decide at that moment. I can't wait any longer. I hope you take this time to think it through. Before I end this, I'd like to tell you why I've hidden from you. Most people would describe me as hideous, disgusting, or foul. It's become a bit of an insecurity of mine. It pains me ever so much when I show my face and people scream. Sometimes I wonder if all vampires are ugly or if it's just me. I do not like to be rejected. P.S. Look behind you. P.S.S. I'm just messing with you. I'm so silly. It wouldn't be that easy to find me. We tell ourselves that monsters don't exist, that nothing lurks in the darkness just beyond the light's edge. We lie to ourselves, pretending that we don't see those beady little glowing eyes peering at us from within our closets or under our beds. I wish I'd never told Tyler those lies. I might not have, had I not been dumb enough to believe them myself. You see, I've suffered for years with a disillusional belief that there's nothing more to this world than meets the eye. My wife still believes it. To this day, she insists that I had something to do with his disappearance. To be fair, I can't say I blame her. Our marriage didn't end so well, and it didn't help that Tyler favored my house over hers. Besides that, how else do you explain him missing from inside a locked house, complete with monitored security system? No one understands that part but me, because no one else was here to hear his muffled screams coming from beneath the floorboards. I was alone, trembling from head to toe as I heard his muffled cries disappear into the earth below. I still live alone, but I've left that old house. I couldn't bear to be in that place any longer after Tyler disappeared. It certainly didn't help matters when I started hearing his disembodied voice calling to me from the dark depths of my bedroom closet at night. Mike and I met about 4 years ago through a mutual friend. I was so exhausted with the apps by that point, so I jumped at the chance to get to know an attractive and smart guy in person. He and I hit it off and have been together ever since. Last month we decided to move in together. The timing felt right for both of us, and so the rental search began. Now the city we live in is pretty big, and unfortunately, market rates are outrageous. He and I have run into issues finding something in our ideal budget. Neither of us can justify the going rate for most 1 to 2 bedroom places. Most of our friends live near the city, and our goal was to do the same, but we were flexible and could compromise for the right property. When Mike found a 3-story townhouse under market value and within reasonable proximity to our social stratosphere, we both, of course, thought it was too good to be true. This has to be a scam. No way is this a legitimate rental, Mike mused while scratching his forehead. He and I were curled up in my bed, snacks everywhere, combing through any promising listing online. I leaned over and commented with the same level of skepticism. Yeah, $1,300 for an entire house? What does it say, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom? 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, Mike said. Yeah, right, I responded. Now, after combing through so many rental listings, you start to develop an eye for the bullshit. Any listing with erratic grammar and punctuation is a no. Any listing that requires proof of ID to be texted to the owner before you can even see the place is a no. And any post with neon text and phone numbers plastered across the pictures is a no. Basically anything on Craigslist. But we were on Rentler, and so far the posts seemed legit. Pictures were nice and clear, summary had proper sentence structure, and a valid email, and contact number for Crystal, the realtor owner. Where is it? I asked. Mike zoomed out on the listing map. Oh, looks like maybe 15 minutes away from Steve and Mackenzie, our friends. After laughing about it for a minute and moving on in our search, we eventually circled back. I mean, it couldn't hurt just to get more information, right? So Mike texted Crystal to set up an appointment. Crystal responded within 20 minutes and gave us a couple times and dates that would work for her. I asked Mike to confirm the price in the listing and ask about other utilities, deposit, etc., to make sure we truly understood the cost in case Crystal accidentally posted the wrong amount. But no, what was in the ad was correct. The day of the viewing came. Mike offered to drive, and so on a Wednesday afternoon, we piled into his Honda Civic and set off for the property. He and I lived on the west side of town, about 10 minutes from each other. This property was on the east side, so it took about 30 to 40 minutes to arrive. When we were almost there, I took note of the neighborhood. I hadn't been here before, but it seemed like a regular suburban neighborhood, lots of houses. Oh, this road here, McClellan Drive, turn left. I pointed at the street while glancing down at my phone's navigation. We pulled onto an empty residential street. The road continued for a short distance before coming to a dead end. On the right side was a row of 5 houses with stubby white picket fences. Some driveways looked occupied, but no one was outside. On the left was a tall white fence that ran all the way down to the end. It looked like a gated community with one entrance at the very end of the street. The fence was solid, so I could not see into the community from the street. Google Map encouraged us forward. We turned into the open entrance, and Mike parked a short distance past the gate onto another empty road. The gated community only consisted of about 6 townhouses and a row facing us. We turned into basically a development lot. On the 6 townhouses, only 2 looked occupied. The house at the opposite end had 1 vehicle parked in the driveway, and one house in the middle of the cluster had a giant flag repping Edmonton Oilers. No, we do not live in Edmonton. Our destination was for the end unit closest to us. Strange, no vehicle was parked outside, but the garage was closed. Maybe Crystal parked inside. Seems oddly empty, no? I asked Mike. We arrived precisely at 2 p.m. Yeah, eerily empty. Didn't realize this was for a new development. Still, that price is unbeatable, huh? Let me check in with Crystal and see if she's here. Mike pulled out his phone from his pocket and noticed 2 missed texts from about 15 minutes earlier. Crystal, I am on site, 1:37 p.m. Crystal, feel free to walk in when you get here and holler. I am just putting cookies in the oven, 1:45 p.m. Guess we can just walk in. Mike looked over at me and could tell I was thinking. While he was checking his phone, I continued to survey the scene. We were parked directly facing the rental unit. We had a clear view of the entire line of townhouses and their windows. Each unit had a basement, main level, and upper level, and each level had 1 to 2 front-facing windows. Strange, the unit we were supposed to tour had curtains or blinds covering every window. I hesitated with my hand on the passenger door. Why would Crystal have all the windows closed on a sunny day when she has potential renters coming by? I squinted at the basement window. Did its curtains just move? Mike agreed. Yeah, that's weird. His phone lit up again and looked down to read the new text. Crystal, hey, I see you guys just got here. Hope you like chocolate chip cookies. Okay, a little creepy. Did you see her head poke out? He looked at me inquisitively, but my eyes were still fixed on the basement window. I broke my gaze off the house to check my side mirror. From my side, I had a perfect view of the gate behind me. Black bars, tall. I couldn't see a keypad on the exterior, so I wondered if there was a remote control. Crystal must have it open during tours. My eyes went back to the house. Oh, there again, did you see it? I nodded towards the house, my eyes on the basement window. Someone had parted the curtain just for a moment. Someone was watching us. Why were they in the basement? Mike looked directionless at the property, uncertain about what I was referring to. My stomach was starting to twist. I didn't like this. Mike, I said quietly and calmly, I think we should go. Fortunately, he didn't need much convincing. He nodded. Before he could shift into reverse, his phone lit up once more. New text from Crystal. Crystal, quit being a tease. Crystal, come in. Mike let out a short gasp, threw his phone into the cup holder and muttered, What the fuck? I felt like I was going to throw up. I heard a low mechanical whir somewhere outside and looked back at the side mirror. My eyes grew. All I could muster was a quiet, urgent plea. The gate is closing. Move. Mike sprung into action. He shifted into reverse and backed the fuck out of there in just enough time to clear whatever hell awaited us inside that house. As we sped away from the gated community and down McClellan Drive, I felt bile rising in my throat. The neighbors had come out. Each house, each white picket fence, now had an occupant standing behind it. Some men, some women, all staring menacingly at us. They stood there. I noticed their heads turning towards us in the rearview mirror as we flew by, stares fixed on us. Mike mutters turned into shouts. What the fuck? We were doing at least 20 over for God knows how long. I could hear his phone vibrating over and over in the cup holder. Mike drove and drove for what felt like eternity. Our only direction was away, far, far away. Eventually, after managing to not vomit all over my lap, I urged him to pull into the nearest grocery store. We sat in the lot of a Target for who knows how long. When I broke out of my trance, I realized his phone had stopped vibrating. We looked at each other, then down at his phone. Mike picked it up and found not one, not two, but 7 missed texts from Crystal. Crystal, quit being a tease, come in. Crystal, I said come in, we're waiting for you. Crystal, we're all here to say hi, we can't wait to meet you. Crystal, we can't wait to meet you. Come in, come in. Crystal, runners make the skin crawl. Runners make the skin sweat. Crystal, runners make the skin sweet. But the last text made us both sick to our stomach. It was a GPS pin of our current location, the Target parking lot, sent seemingly before we even arrived. This location was not planned. It was by chance we ended up here. We had to keep moving. Before we had the chance to shift into drive, my phone chimed. Mike and I froze. I shakily pulled my phone out of my pocket and looked down at the screen. The bile was rising again up my throat. Unknown. Nowhere to go but here. Included was a picture taken from the exterior of the rental property. The camera pointed at the basement window, and the curtains were now parted. Someone was there. Someone with greasy hair and pale skin, with the widest inhuman grin I've ever seen. They were pressed up against the glass, as if they were anxiously awaiting something. Someone. Us. Unknown. Runners make the tastiest treats.